the YouTube jailbreak. So we can see here, Dr. Yan Yan posted a teaser here showing YouTube jailbreak plus P2JB with debug settings running by Chemo Maka. So it would work up to firmware 12.40 because, of course, 12.60 and 12.70, the YouTube jailbreak was patched where you need a license file to run the YouTube application. Same with Netflix, it only works up to 12.40. So still work in progress, has no ELF loader, so not useful yet. You'll need to be patient because it has the same kernel panic on app close issues that the Lua exploit has. So obviously no ETA for a release, but let it be worked on so it can get cleaned. So yeah, hopefully this issue with, the game causing kernel panics can be solved. I'm sure it will be solved eventually. But again, in the meantime, it could still be used to unpatch the Blu-ray jailbreak up to firmware 12.0 using YouTube jailbreak and P2JB. So it's nice that we have some confirmation now that there is a YouTube jailbreak implementation of P2JB coming. The Blu-ray and patching project has also been updated by GetGNat a number of times now. So of course we got 13.20 support and the P2JB added, but since then it's now had support for 4.x and 5.x firmwares. So it now works on 4.03 all the way up to 12.0, and that's obviously the P2JB improvements because the Blu-ray is already unpatched on those older firmwares, as well as improved stability. We've got UFM42's kernel exploit PS5 post-jailbreak all-in-one shellcode added. We've got deprecated the PS5 firmware-specific kernel offsets, and it's also depreciated the GPU read-write, so that's no longer present. So quite a few updates there to the unjailbreak project. And of course, the P2JB 1.6 will get added to the other, Blu-ray also loaders if you'd rather use one of their ISOs that are kind of an all-in-one. Then you'll have that option once they get updated to version 1.6. And then, of course, you can also run the BD unpatch payload on firmwares above 7.61 to unpatch the Blu-ray jailbreak. Now, EchoStretch has also completed porting kstuff up to firmware 12.70. So we can see we have screenshots here of it loading on firmware 12.20, 12.40, 12.60, and 12.70. So this is kstuff Lite version 1.05. It's not released at the time I'm recording this video. It's going under testing right now, so testers have access to it, and once it's been validated that there's no problems and it works fine on all of those firmwares, it will get a full release so that everybody can access it. And of course, kstuff Lite allows us to run our PS4 fake packages, as well as our PlayStation 5 game dumps. It makes loading those possible, and homebrew applications and other useful things, so it will unlock the full jailbreak functionality essentially on the PS5 up to firmware 12.70 once we get the full release. And it honestly is very impressive that EchoStretch has managed to do this so quickly, considering the fact that he's on those higher firmware, and his only way to jailbreak is to run the P2JB, which takes, a couple of hours to load the jailbreak. So it's pretty impressive that he's actually managed to get this ported so quickly when every time something crashes, he has to wait another couple of hours to reload the jailbreak. So some incredible work there by EchoStretch. Now another huge update we've had is of course Linux support on higher firmwares. So previously the Linux payload only worked from firmware 3.0 up to 4.51. It now has support for 5.0, 5.02, 5.10, 5.50, 6.0, and 6.02. So all of those firmwares are now supported. You can load Linux if you have a console on one of those firmwares from basically 3.0 up to 6.02. You will be able to run Linux on your PS5 and turn it into an emulation station or a Steam machine or a gaming PC, whatever you want to do with it. You'll have that option now if you're on a 5.x or 6.0 or 6.2 firmware. Now that's not the only update to Linux that we've had. We've also got this new project from Buzzer, which is a patch to enable the inbuilt Wi-Fi to work on the PS5 under Linux. So essentially all you have to do is copy this project over to your PS5 and then run the install script, and that will apply the patch directly to the console. And once the patch has been applied, you'll see that when I go into the settings on my distro here and go to the Wi-Fi settings, the Wi-Fi networks are showing up, and that is from the inbuilt Wi-Fi chip, not using any external USB Wi-Fi dongle or, a USB to Ethernet adapter. You can basically use the inbuilt Wi-Fi now using this patch, and that will free up a USB port on the PS5 that you can use for something else, which is awesome. So another great improvement there to PS5 Linux. So hopefully in time we'll also see the inbuilt Ethernet port as well as Bluetooth and other features get added, just like we have now with the Wi-Fi patch. So moving on from that, the WebKit exploits from Nathan Fargo looks like it's showing some more promise. So we've got this post from Zeko saying, in case people are wondering, Nathan's vulnerability was real or not, it is real and it's not patched in the latest firmware source code. So at least we know it works up to the latest firmwares on the PS4 and PS5, presumably. If it's working on both of them, there is still some concern that it might not be usable on the PS4 and PS5 due to stability or reliability issues, so we'll just have to see how that works out and if we can actually end up getting a proper WebKit exploit to load the jailbreak with the web browser up to the latest firmware. That would be a huge development because it would make things so much easier than having to re-sign save files like we have to do with existing exploits that use games, or restoring backup files, which we have to do with some exploits. So it would just make things a hell of a lot easier to set up the jailbreak if we could get an actual WebKit exploit for the PS5. But again, I would still take things with a grain of salt for now until we actually see some kind of WebKit exploits get released. We also got this teaser screenshot of GoldHEN running on the PS5 from Sistro, which just shows that Sistro is still working on a port for GoldHEN for the PlayStation 5. We know that Sistro has been working on this in the past, but it's nice to just get a refresh to know that he is still working on it, so that is good to see. There's also been a number of updates to Sonic Loader, which is kind of the replacement for Void Shell, a web panel that allows you to interact with your PlayStation 5, except this one is open source and does not have any kind of expiry date. And there's been quite a few improvements added to this since I last covered it. One of the big changes is that there's now a daemon that's been added. So this jailbreak daemon basically replaces the ETA-hen daemon, which was kind of a previous requirement where you had to have ETA-hen loaded, whereas this can now work independently of ETA-hen and still loads applications that normally require ETA-hen for the daemon process, like PS5 exploiter, items flow in the homebrew store, that normally will not run just with kstuff standalone. But with this new daemon process, you can see I can install PS5 exploiter and load it up on the console with just Sonic Loader running, and it loads no problem. I can use these homebrew applications that normally require ETA-hen, so that removes that requirement from Sonic Loader, which is pretty awesome. And beyond that, there's been a couple of other improvements. There's a full file manager added now, and also homebrew store integration. So basically packagezone.com has been integrated, so you can simply select any package files from the homebrew store and click install, and it will automatically install that directly onto the PS5 for you, and you'll have access to that homebrew application. In this case, I just went ahead and installed the avatar changer for the PS5, and you can see it does successfully install it on my console. So that's another thing that's been implemented there. We also have a new trophy unlocker that is being added. It's not added, I believe, at the time I'm recording, but it will probably get added pretty soon. So this will allow you to unlock the trophies for your PlayStation 5 game dumps, I believe, where normally the trophies do not load. So that's something that's being included there. And I believe that might have something to do with the new SSL patcher that has been released by Mia recently. So this is a new payload that disables TSL certificate pinning in libsce HTTP and libsce SSL, so that HTTPS clients on the console, including the Shellcorp's PSN traffic, can be man-in-the-middle routed through a local proxy, and this could allow some pretty interesting stuff to happen on the PS5 now, that we can manipulate HTTPS traffic. We might be able to repurpose some of the online features for other uses on the PS5, because previously you couldn't really touch the HTTPS traffic because of the certificate. So if you tried to man-in-the-middle proxy, it just would not work because the certificates mismatch. So with this now disabling that, it should allow us to manipulate that traffic. So we might be able to see some interesting new developments come out for the PS5 now that this is available. Anyway, that's going to basically do it here for this video, so I hope you guys enjoyed this one or found the information useful. If you did, please give a like and subscribe, and as always, I will